Hello and welcome to a special Smaulgld report on gold and silver, how JP Morgan and HSBC Bank control vast amounts of physical gold and silver. We're going to take a look at some charts and you're going to be able to see how much gold and silver they do control. JP Morgan Chase and HSBC control vast amounts of gold and silver via holdings in their COMEX warehouses and via ETF custodial arrangements. JP Morgan is the largest COMEX hoarder of silver and is the custodian of the largest silver ETF, SLV. HSBC is the largest COMEX hoarder of gold and custodian of the largest gold ETF, GLD. How much gold and silver do they control? We're going to get to that. We're going to show you some charts. And keep in mind as we go through this podcast, are their holdings confiscation targets? I know many of you are concerned that the government may one day come after your gold and silver, but when you see how much gold and silver that HSBC and JP Morgan control, you'll realize that it's a lot easier target to go after those amounts of gold than to try to collect a coin here or there from individuals. Now let's take a look at the gold and silver holdings of JP Morgan Chase and HSBC Bank. So we're going to look at the amount of silver controlled by these two entities, and set forth below is the amount of silver controlled, and control means that neither JP Morgan or HSBC Bank or their affiliates hold any of this gold. It doesn't mean that because they control it, they own it or have direct beneficial ownership of any of the metals that we talk about. And it's the same for whatever is in the COMEX warehouses, whatever they have in ETFs as custodians under their watch does not mean they own it. However, you all know that when you have control over something, it's just about as good as ownership, in that you can do certain things with those metals as if you had owned them. Maybe not legally, but just remember HSBC. So this does not mean what we're showing you. This is what HSBC and JP Morgan Chase own. This is what's under their control, but it is significant to note that this is the amount of metal that is under the control of these two entities. So first, let's look at the silver stocks and COMEX approved warehouses. So JP Morgan has almost 100 million ounces of silver in its COMEX approved warehouse. It's 96.586 million ounces, and HSBC has about 18 million ounces. The four other approved silver warehouses are Brinks with 23 million, Scotia Makata with 19.8 million, Delaware Depository Corporation with 18 million, and CNT Depository with 12.9 million ounces. CNN fake depository there, sorry. JP Morgan and HSBC together control 72% of the COMEX warehouse silver. JP Morgan has about 55% and HSBC about 16%. Put them together, they own nearly they control nearly 3/4 of the silver that is stashed away in those COMEX approved warehouses. And you can see JP Morgan has been very busy adding silver to its warehouse. It's gone from basically nothing back in 2012 all the way up to nearly 100 million ounces. If you want to see these charts better, you go to the Smaulgld website. I'll put a link below, and you can check out the charts. They do indeed look much better on the website. Here is the total amount of COMEX silver stocks that are held in the various warehouses. It's about almost 200 million. There is no shortage of silver supposedly at the COMEX warehouses. There is eligible for trading about 30 million, and there's about 160 million that are eligible. Now, can you trust these numbers? Well, probably. Now, some people point to the disclaimer that the CME group puts on the data that they release, but that data is nothing more than a legal disclaimer. It is not basically like what they put at some websites, that this is for informational entertainment purposes only. It's merely the fact that the CME group cannot, no entity can, on a daily basis audit the amounts that each of the warehouses say that they have. So all that the CME group is doing when they put that disclaimer on this data is basically saying this is what they say they have. We cannot confirm that accuracy. But I would bet that this amount of silver is about what they have. Everyone wants to believe, does believe that JP Morgan has this amount of silver. So why wouldn't you believe that the other entities have the amount that they say they have as well? So all in all, JP Morgan has 100 million ounces of silver in its warehouses. HSBC about 18.9. So that makes it for about 3/4 of the 189 million ounces of silver held in COMEX approved warehouses. Now there's even more silver in exchange traded funds. SLV, the largest silver exchange traded fund, which JP Morgan acts as custodian, holds 57% of all silver held in all ETFs. There's about 580 million ounces of silver in all ETFs, and SLV has about 328 million of those ounces. And there is a chart showing SLV's share of silver ETF, and you can see it's well over half of the silver ETF demand. Now, if you take JP Morgan Chase and HSBC's silver that they control and you compare it to annual global silver mining production, you'll see between the two of them, the amounts that they control via their COMEX approved warehouses and the silver that is in the SLV ETF that JP Morgan acts as custodian, they have 443 million ounces under their control. That's about half of the 886 million ounces of silver produced each year, or at least as was produced in 1986, according to the Silver Institute. The way you get to that 443 million ounce number is you take the 96 million ounces in the JP Morgan COMEX approved warehouse and the 18.6 million ounces of silver in the HSBC COMEX approved warehouse. Add that to the 328 million ounces of silver in the silver ETF SLV, which JP Morgan acts as custodian. Add them all up and you get nearly 450 million ounces of silver under control of those two entities. If you would like to have silver under your control, you can do so via the links below. You can purchase silver via the Smaulgld website at the banners. We have affiliate agreements with BGASC, Golden Eagle Coins, JM Bullion, Muddy Metals Exchange, and SD Bullion on the website. If you're interested in buying silver, you can do so at the links below. Smaulgld gets a small commission, and you pay no more, no less than if you visited those sites directly. So if you do purchase or wish to purchase gold or silver, and you do it through the Smaulgld site, you are helping Smaulgld out. As I mentioned, I get a small commission on each sale. Not investment advice to buy silver or gold, but if you've done your research and you're going to buy gold or silver, please consider doing it through the Smaulgld website. Let's move over now to gold. Same caveat, these amounts are gold under the control of HSBC and JP Morgan Chase and are not amounts that are necessarily owned by either of them. Same story almost in the COMEX warehouses. For gold, HSBC has 5.3 million ounces and JP Morgan is second largest holder of gold in the COMEX warehouses with 1.6 million. You take HSBC's warehouse and JP Morgan's gold holdings in its warehouse, and between the two of them, they control 61% of the COMEX gold held in the COMEX approved warehouses. HSBC has over 51% and JP Morgan approximately 10%. Here's a chart showing the HSBC gold stocks, and then here is a chart showing all of the warehouses rolled up together. It's about 10 million ounces. Gold and exchange traded funds. Here's where HSBC is the custodian of the largest gold ETF, GLD, and there's 27 million ounces in that particular gold ETF. All gold ETFs only have 68 million ounces. So GLD, of which HSBC acts as custodian, controls 40% of the gold held in all gold ETFs. can see gold ETFs have been popular of late. They got popular back in 2016. Holdings went up. Then as the withdrawals happened in the mid part of 2016, corresponding with a price drop, then as the price rose, gold holdings and ETFs in the early part of 2017 have increased close to 70 million. They were at a peak at about 80 million in 2013. So let's see how much gold HSBC and JP Morgan Chase have under their control combined. So if you take HSBC's COMEX warehouse gold of 5.3 million, you take JP Morgan's COMEX gold in its warehouse at 1.6 million, add to it the gold in the GLD ETF, 27 million ounces, you get 34 million ounces of the total gold production according to GFMS at Thomson Reuters of 102 million ounces a year. Then the two of the entities, JP Morgan and HSBC, have about a third of the global annual gold mining production of 102 million ounces. Keep in mind that HSBC is also a U.S. Mint authorized purchaser of American Gold Eagles, and that means potentially, hypothetically, in a speculative way, that perhaps HSBC has acquired some gold eagles for its own account through its relationship as an authorized purchaser. I doubt it. There's also no evidence that JP Morgan Chase has acquired any American silver eagles or any Canadian silver maple leaf coins in any quantity. That is speculation. It actually, to me, makes absolutely no sense why a large entity would overpay for silver that it isn't eligible to trade anywhere, other than you're paying over $2 per coin over spot to acquire that silver. And unless you're going to open up a bunch of coin stores and try to sell them, it really makes no sense for a large entity to have purchased them. There's no evidence that they've purchased them. It doesn't make sense for them to have purchased them. But yet that myth persists out there that JP Morgan is acquiring silver, and somehow the means of acquiring it has been through American silver eagles and perhaps Canadian maple leaf coins, silver coins. JP Morgan does have a lot of gold under its control, but silver eagles, I would give that a 99-to-1 shot that they even have one silver eagle that is listed somehow, somewhere as under their control. It makes no sense for JP Morgan to own silver eagles. Now, the rationale, the way the gentleman came up with that theory that JP Morgan has purchased American silver eagles, was that his belief was during 2011 to 15, retail sales of American silver eagles were down, but yet the U.S. Mint was reporting record sales. Therefore, if retail buyers weren't purchasing American silver eagles, there must have been a large buyer, and the large buyer that had a incentive to buy silver was JP Morgan. So therefore, the big buyer was JP Morgan. Well, that's not true. I've spoken to bullion dealers. Retail demand was strong, and it wasn't from JP Morgan. Also, JP Morgan is not even an authorized purchaser. It's not like they might have bought them and then not delivered them to their retail buyers, or their on-sellers. They just kept them. They're not even a authorized purchaser. So it makes no sense that JP Morgan has acquired any American silver eagles, and certainly not any Canadian silver maple leaf coins. That about does it. So you can use this as a reference for, and I'll try to update this from time to time as to how much gold and silver is under the control of these two large entities. Remember to subscribe to Smaulgld by putting your email address up at the top. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at Smaulgld. Thank you.